Bridgerton. Did the book series or TV show do it better? Let's start with the differences between the characters from the page to the screen. To start, we have Jonathan Bailey, who plays Anthony Bridgerton. He fits the book description quite well. All the Bridgerton family members are said to have chestnut brown hair, which Bailey does have, and both he and his book counterpart have dark brown eyes. Next up is Penelope Featherington, played by Nicola Coughlan. In the books, she is described as being unattractive, but in the series, well, obviously, Nicola Coughlan is gorgeous. Penelope's hair is also described as a quiet auburn, which is different from Nicola's bright red hair. We then have Eloise Bridgerton, played by Claudia Jessie. Show Eloise is actually 15 years older than book Eloise, and a notable physical difference is that in the books, her eye color is quite inconsistent, going from blue to green to gray, whereas in the series, Jessie's eyes are consistently blue. Let's also talk about Kate Bridgerton, played by Simone Ashley. None of the characters in the books were specified as white, so the series brought some much-needed diversity to the cast. Ashley, who is almost 6 feet tall, is obviously taller than the character was described as in the book, where she's actually described as being shorter than her sister Edwina. In season 2, Kate is also 26 years old, whereas in the books, she's only 20. Another Bridgerton to talk about is Benedict, played by Luke Thompson. A main difference between this character and his book counterpart is, again, eye color. In the book, Benedict has the brown-eyed Bridgerton genes, whereas Thompson has very green eyes. His sexuality in the novels is also quite fluid, whereas in the adaptation, it was really up in the air for quite some time while following Quinn's story. We also have Colin Bridgerton, played by Luke Newton. Newton, sadly, does not have the emerald green eyes that are repeatedly talked about in the books for his character. His eyes are blue, and that's fine. In the book, Colin is also supposed to be around 33 years old, whereas by season 3, he's only 24 in the series. Phoebe Denver plays Daphne Bridgerton. She is supposed to have brown eyes with a green ring around them, but Denver just has naturally brown eyes. Another character with different eye color is Francesca Bridgerton, played by Hannah Dodd, who was cast in the place of Ruby Stokes, starting with season 3. The actress's eyes are dark brown, whereas the character has dark blue eyes in the novels. We also cannot forget about Simon Bassett, played by Regé-Jean Page, who left the show after season 1. There is a specificity with the repeated eye colors in the novels, and Simon is described as having icy blue eyes, and of course, Paige, who is so handsome as Simon, has brown eyes. And lastly, we have to talk about the main Bridgerton, who holds everything together, Violet Bridgerton, played by Ruth Gemmell. In the books, she is described as blonde, whereas in the show, she has dark brown hair. But Ruth does have the blue eyes like her book counterpart. Now, let's talk about the biggest story changes between the books and the TV series. Let's start with season 1, which adapted the first novel, The Duke and I. One major change is that there is actually no Queen Charlotte in the novels. She was essentially an original character inspired by history, specifically made for the show. There really was no specific king or queen mentioned in the books. Another change is that in the series, Simon spends years of his childhood overcoming his stutter, which made his father very disappointed in him as a future duke. In the books, however, Simon overcomes his stutter and becomes better with his speech. In the series, one of Simon's pastimes includes boxing, which is period accurate as a hobby, but it doesn't actually happen in the novels at all. And speaking of character changes, Marina had many alterations to her story. In the series, she is a Featherington cousin, but in the books, she is a distant Bridgerton cousin. Secondly, in the novels, the reader never actually officially meets Marina because she's already dead when she is finally mentioned. Fans of the novels were only made aware of her character in the 5th book, and because of this, Marina is never set up with Colin Bridgerton as she is in the series. And we also have to talk about the season 1 ending. The team behind the series dropped a bomb on us with that Penelope Featherington reveal as Lady Whistledown. In the novels, this information is not revealed until the 4th book, Romancing Mr. Bridgerton. Let's move on to some of the changes with season 2, which adapted the second novel, The Vicomte Who Loved Me. One of the major changes is how Kate and Anthony meet. In the series, the team produced an adorable meet-cute. Anthony is almost run over by Kate while she is out riding her horse. In the novels, however, they actually met at a ball where Colin introduced them. Anthony never intended to marry for love, as we learned, but the reason differs between the novel and the series. In the series, he simply says it's because he doesn't want to upset anyone, whereas in the novel, it's because he never wanted to hurt or to feel the hurt that his mother did when his father passed away, calling it a curse. And speaking of love, the scandalous love triangle between Edwina, Kate, and Anthony was created for the sake of series drama. Yes, in the books, Anthony and Edwina did court for a short period of time, but their courtship was superficial and quickly ended once they realized they were not good as a match. Another big change in season 2 is that Eloise became more of a focal point than she previously was, since the show targets her relationship with Theo and her debut into society as a woman ready for marriage. But in the novel, she isn't actually ready until the following year. And speaking of Eloise, she finds out about Lady Whistledown at the end of the season, but in the novel, it's Colin who actually finds out. And lastly, let's talk about the changes in season 3, which adapted the fourth novel, Romancing Mr. Bridgerton. One major change in this season is that Cressidia and Eloise are best friends. In the books, since Eloise does not know of Penelope's true identity, they are the best of friends and share a joint dislike of Cressidia Cowper, whereas in the series, Eloise and Penelope are no longer besties. Instead, Eloise forms this friendship with Cressidia. And speaking of character changes, Lord Debeling, Penelope's love interest in the series, was a new addition to the narrative. He does not exist in the novels. Another character introduction is Lord Marcus Anderson, the brother of Lady Danbury, who becomes a romantic interest for Lady Violet Bridgerton. In the books, he does not exist, and Lady Bridgerton is just a mother who is trying to find matches for her children. Now, let's talk about what the series got right and what it got wrong. One of the main strengths of the series is the high production value and the attention to period detail, which makes the show visually stunning and so immersive. Bridgerton transports viewers to Regency-era London with its vibrant costumes and grand ballrooms and elaborate sets. The production design was heavily influenced by sources like Althorp, which is Princess Diana's childhood home for the Bridgertons estate. And it creates a world that is both historically inspired and visually appealing. The costume department utilizes color and style to reflect character personalities and societal status. For example, using overly citrus color palettes to reflect the Featheringtons' new money status and desire to be noticed. Sure, some of this was written in detail in the novels, but the team at Shondaland magically brought to life all of these details in a very realistic way. Another major strength is the engaging storytelling and character focus that Shonda Rhimes and her team used. The series weaves together compelling romances, witty dialogue, and dramatic intrigue by having each season spotlight a different Bridgerton sibling's search for love. The show dives deep into exploring themes like challenges of courtship and societal expectations and the importance of finding oneself. The show also employed a diverse cast since a majority of the characters were not described as white in the novels, which further enhances the appeal of the story to viewers who otherwise wouldn't have been interested in a romantic period drama. I mean, they got the iconic Julie Andrews to narrate for Lady Whistledown. However, as much as the series has its strengths, it did have a few weaknesses too. One of the major weaknesses of the adaptation is its lack of depth and inconsistent treatment of race and social issues of the era. The diverse casting is a great benefit for the show, but the team does not explore historical issues of racial and social inequalities within the Regency era. This sometimes leads to the perception that the show is hollow and that the inclusion of diversity is a stunt rather than actually trying to say something with the series, which Brings me to another weakness of the adaptation: the repetitive plots and character archetypes used. As each season shifts the story's focus onto a new Bridgerton sibling, the plots of the individual stories sometimes feel repetitive and predictable, following similar story beats and romantic tropes. For example, the recurring trope of the desirable male lead who eventually falls in love is a repetitive storyline for each of the 3 seasons that really lacks creative development at times. The romantic conflict often relies upon miscommunication and a reluctance of characters to express their true feelings, which can be quite tiresome to watch as the series progresses, even if it is fun. Sometimes it feels like the production team wanted to prioritize entertainment and fantasy over fully fleshed out character development and the exploration of relationships, like the novels do so well. All right, so which one wins, the books or the TV series? For me, the TV series wins. Shonda Rhimes brought the pages of the books to life in such a beautiful and fantastical way, from the attention to period detail to the modified storylines that fleshed out some fan-favorite characters. But what do you think? Do you think the adaptation does the books justice, or are you a fan of the originals? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell. And I'll see you next time right here on Collider.